It has been a fucking massive week for Twitch in terms of like community guidelines and terms of services. You know, I made a video a few days ago, you know, about the whole topless meta that was going around on Twitch and how that was sparking a lot of controversy. Not necessarily because, you know, well, depends on which angle you were coming from it. You know, a lot of people didn't like it because, you know, there was just women on there who were, you know, overly sexualizing themselves, and a lot of people didn't like that, especially because, you know, to them Twitch is just mainly should be a gaming site, even though it isn't. But for someone like me, the only reason I was like, you know, a little bit, not like, I guess you could say like mad, or maybe not mad, just like a little bit annoyed with that whole meta and these women being able to stream, was because, you know, Twitch wasn't upholding their own terms of service and community guidelines. And in previous times, you know, they have banned people for a lot less than what they were banning these girls from. So that's why I was annoyed, because, you know, a lot of people in the past have gotten banned for stuff a lot less, and even things that like people did accidentally. You know, if someone did something on stream accidentally and they didn't really mean it, and then they would get banned. But people like this, you know, basically, you know, going on stream without any top on and pretty much standing in the front of the camera, you know, pretty much, you know, almost nude, you know, just covering, you know, their nipples with the camera line. So that was why I was a little bit annoyed. And, you know, a couple of days later after I made that video, or even a day later, you know, these women started to get banned. But now, in the last like 12 hours, well, almost like, but probably by the time you're watching this video, it's been a whole 24 hours since this has all come out. Twitch has officially changed their guidelines and their policies in terms of what's allowed now on Twitch in terms of sexual content. And it is fucking wild. So I'm going to go through majority of things that have changed. I'm going to show you things on the screen. I'm going to go through them just briefly. If you want to, you can pause, or you can go on Twitch's Twitter and onto the tweet. And actually, you know what, I'll link the blog in my description if you want to go ahead and read everything for yourself. But we're going to go through here, we're going to read everything, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on it and what I honestly like think of everything that's happened. So first off here, you know, they're talking about their streamlined sexual content policy. And this basically right here, if you want to pause it and read it, you can if you want. They're just talking about how they've completely changed some of their guidelines in terms of what's allowed for their sexual content policy. They've also removed some of like the labels. So like, if you go watch my previous video on this, you will see that there's like, when it came to sexual content, there's a lot of like different like subsections for like different types of like suggestive sexual content and this kind of sexual content, and it was like 3 different lines. But now they've completely gotten rid of those, so there's no sexually suggestive content, there's just sexual content policy, and that's it. So it's just one community guideline to go through everything. They also talked about how they launched, which I didn't even know, was content classification labels back in June, where it's like, you know, if something is, you know, overly sexual, you have to label your video that, which is fair enough. And if we go into now the into the community guidelines and look at the policies that have changed. So right now, so it's just one. Like I said, it's changed from last time of it being several different types of sexual content. Now it's just sexual content, and the things that aren't allowed here are pretty, like, these ones right here are fair enough. You know, last time it was broad, and you could basically, you could do nothing whatsoever sexually on Twitch. Like, absolutely nothing. You couldn't twerk, you couldn't do this, you couldn't, like, you know, even something sexually suggestive, which is what these topless girls were doing, where, you know, it's something sexually suggestive that's meant to, you know, get someone, you know, aroused, basically. It is what the policies were saying. Now you can't do any, you can't basically, it's just literal sexual, like fully sexual content. So you can't, you know, have sex on Twitch, any types, you know, which is 100% fair enough. I mean, you know, it ain't straight just pornography on this website. You can't fully just display sexual bodily fluids. So I couldn't just, like, you know, have my peen out just straight on stream for no goddamn reason whatsoever. Advertisement or solidification of sexual services, including prostitution, that's absolutely fair enough. Sexual messages and film sexual activity is a bit weird. So, like, I'm pretty sure that you're still not allowed to directly advertise your OnlyFans on Twitch still, which is fair enough. I mean, a lot of the people, like, kind of understand, you know, some of the girls who are doing this stuff are, you know, and they will say, oh, go to the link in my Instagram. So that's kind of fair enough. You know, consensual sexual violence such as flogging or whipping another person, that 100% fair enough. Graphic description of sex acts, yeah, we don't want, like, you know, people, you know, reading sexual novels, graphic sexual novels on fucking Twitch. We definitely wouldn't want that. You can't just have your sex toys displayed out and start bragging about them, you know, for no, unless it's like an educational context. I mean, I don't know what way. I mean, I could probably see some girls doing that, about showing like, so when it comes to using a dildo, this is the proper way to using that. That I could definitely see. Soliciting money that requires sexual labels and all that stuff. So it's definitely more narrowed down now in terms of, you know, what people can't do on Twitch. And like I said before, it was extremely fucking broad. Not only that, Twitch has now changed their recommendation homepage now of like what is being displayed. So they said that in terms of like newer viewers, I'm guessing it's not for people who, you know, already watch content like this, like me. You know, I've, you know, gone on streams to do stuff for this video, and even previously when I've streamed, I'm like, what's on Twitch? And then I go and just chatting, and I see, you know, girls doing stuff where they have their legs spread open. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'll watch it on stream for a laugh. But in terms of like new people won't get recommended any types of sexual content. Now, I'm not 100% sure that this is like fully in effect yet, because I saw a video on Twitter of someone who actually saw that they got recommended like a sexual themes stream. So I don't know if that's just them that they've watched that in previously, but to me, it wouldn't surprise me if it's not like completely fully like interacted and like fully completed. And then we're going to go into the FAQs. The FAQs is really good for just like get a complete summary and a little bit more broader of like what you can do on Twitch now. So right here it says, you know, a question saying, oh, what is the major update? So basically they just talked about like the label of what I mentioned. And one thing that also that said as that people like were like, oh my god, I can do, you know, so much more on Twitch, is that in terms of fictionalized drawings, you can fully expose female presenting breasts or genitals, buttocks, regardless of gender. I don't know about it also applies for men, because I'm going to talk about that in a second about like male characters as well. Women can also do female presenting breasts. You can do like body writing and artistic stuff like on body. So I remember there was this girl, I've seen her on Twitch a couple times and I've seen her on Twitter as well, where she will stand there with her tits out and she was painting on her chest. But like Twitch wasn't doing anything about it back then, because they were like, you know, kind of allowing it, even though it was going through their policies. But now, you know, it's completely allowed. Erotic dances as well. So you're allowed to do twerking, grinding, and pole dancing is now allowed, but it's allowed without a label. The only thing is that like strip teasing, you would have to probably use with a label now, with a label as well, because that does deem towards more sexual content. But twerking, grinding, and pole dancing, you know, as long as I'm pretty sure if you're fully clothed, you know, that stuff you wouldn't have to do with a label. Yeah, so this is like here about what's updated in terms of like the artistic depictions of nudity. So yeah, like I said, body painting is completely allowed, and if it's for like an artistic depiction of nudity, so if you're drawing a naked character, you're allowed to show that on stream. So if you're drawing like some dude with a massive schlong, you're allowed to show that schlong on Twitch, because it is considered artistic. Also as well, one good thing that I think is at least it's more towards like me, and it's probably the one that I would care about, and like, you know, for me personally, I'd be like, oh, this is a good thing. It's how Twitch is handling game nudity in gaming. So previously, you know, if you were playing a game like Cyberpunk and you went to go into, you know, the character creator, and if you go into character creator in Cyberpunk without any censorship on it, the characters, tits, schlong, vag, everything is just fully out in the character creator. And also like in some scenes, and also Baldur's Gate 3 as well, there is sexual scenes in that. Those type of stuff is allowed now, as like it's allowed, nudity is allowed in games as long as like, you know, the game itself is not fully centered around sexual content. And also like sexual activity it is not necessarily allowed. So it says users may not engage in simulated sexual activity. So you can't bang in Cyberpunk. Like if they just show their dick, that's fine. But, you know, Baldur's Gate 3, I'm pretty sure, yeah, you still can't show, like, them, like, someone getting doggy styled or anything like that. But, yeah, you can't, like, play, like, fucking hentai waifu fuck me 3 or some shit like that. You know, you can't play a fucking sexual game on Twitch, which is fair enough because, you know, they don't want to make it a fully, you know, pornographic website. And these three right here are just talking about the labels, and the labels are basically, you know, self-explanatory. You can pause this and read it if you want, or you can go to the link as well. And just talking about how, you know, for you know, sexual themed streams, you know, streams that are based around sexual themes, to say, you know, if you're drawing a dude with a schlong, or you know, you have your tits out or something like that, or, you know, you're painting your breasts or anything like that, you have to, like, have your streams labeled, which is fair enough. I think that's just their way of cracking down, of, like, you know, to let people know that they can't, you know, if you're underage, not to view this stream, or yeah, just to let you know, even if you're not underage, just say, like, oh yeah, you're watching a stream that may contain or does contain some sexual content. And people have already taken advantage of this, I will just say that right now. And I'm going to show a few screenshots of the screen. Obviously, I have to blur them because we are on YouTube, and YouTube won't allow this stuff, even though this video is educational, or it's just, you know, professional yapper going right here. So obviously, you know, we already have the topless meta of people doing that. Not only that, though, I have seen some streams. I've seen it on Twitter, and I took a couple screen grabs of myself, like, going through Twitch. I saw someone where they had, you know, doing a 3D model of some anime waifu with massive, you know, double G jugs. Saw some other VTuber furry dude who was drawing another furry male with, like, a massive schlong. This thing was gigantic. Like, I don't know, you know, there's no way any girl in the world would be able to fit something that big in their hoo-ha. And then this is the one that's also going to be, like, pushing it as well, is that, like, VTubers themselves are, like, considered, you know, art, and they're not really necessarily considered, you know, real life humans. So if they are considered, you know, artistic nudity, you know, because it is a VTuber, there was one stream where some chick, she just had her model on the right hand side, and it was just standing there naked. Like, it was just naked. And then there was a picture on the left of her in a fucking, you know, of someone doing some art as well of her. I think that was, like, her VTuber person, but god damn, bro, like, I think that's just, I don't know if that counts as artistic nudity. I guess it does to a certain extent, because, like I said, you know, VTubers are considered, you know, art because they're not real, and they're created on a computer, and you know, that, you know, modeling is considered art, you know, 3D modeling. Now, to give my, like, 2 cents on it, in my previous video, I was mostly annoyed about, like, all this stuff happening, like, in terms of the topless meta, because Twitch had been inconsistent previously in terms of their bans and upholding their policies. Now that they've updated their policies and that, you know, you can do stuff like this on their website, I really don't give a shit. Like, honestly, if Twitch wants to do that, and Twitch wants to allow stuff like that on their platform, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can't do anything about it. You know, you could go on Twitter and complain. I've seen a lot of people complain already. And if you don't like it, that's fair enough. But you don't have to watch it at the same time. And, you know, you might think that, like, oh my god, this is, like, you know, gonna bring Twitch into a shit place. Twitch is gonna go downhill from here. I was looking through it, like, to try and find these streams. And there's not really, like, they're not, like, the most popular things, especially the art ones. I mean, if you go into art, they are currently filled, a lot of them, with, like, people drawing naked characters. But, you know, art isn't the top category on Twitch. And, you know what? I have a feeling that, you know, people are just doing it now just to hop onto it because it is a new thing. But I definitely see it calming down in the next, like, you know, month. And I feel like it would just become, you know, either a normal thing or people just won't give a crap. It's just like, oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to, you know, today I've drawn a dick fucking 10 weeks in a row. Let me just draw someone, you know, with some fucking clothes on. Like, that's how I kind of see it. I don't really expect it to, like, blow up and to be a massive thing. You don't have to watch it. It's just kind of going to be there. But as long as Twitch is upholding their policies, even though their policies, you know, now include some sexual content, I honestly don't really give a shit. Like to me, it is what it is. Like I said before, I was only annoyed because they were inconsistent with their bans. That was why. I was annoyed because they weren't following their own goddamn fucking policies. That was why I was so annoyed. But now that they're, changed their policies and people can do stuff like this, I mean, who gives a fuck? I mean, you just, instead of having to click on the hub to see some titties, now you can just, go on Twitch and see some titties. You can, while you're watching Asmongold, you can just click over and see some anime waifu with their boobs out. Like, it's basically a win-win situation, I don't have to open up an extra tab, if I want to check out some anime titties. Now I can just, 2 clicks, go into browse, go into art, bam, right there. Someone's drawing some beautiful anime titties right there. So nah, all serious though, I honestly don't really care. I am curious to know what you guys think. Like, do you like really care? Do you think that do you think that Twitch is taking the step in the wrong direction? I mean, you really, I can't really say. Like, who knows? Maybe they are. Maybe this might be a bad decision for Twitch. This ultimately could be, but maybe it's just like a decision that they've made and it won't affect anything. And I honestly think it won't affect anything, especially because I don't really give a shit too much. Like I said, as long as they're upholding their policies, no matter what the policy is, as long as they are upholding them, I don't really care. I honestly don't care. But I would like to know what you guys think. Do you really care? Are you on the side of me where you just don't really care? Do you think this is good? Like, do you like this change? Do you not give a shit? Or do you really care and think that this is a bad step? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But that's it from me. Peace out.